Her laughter was something I would always remember. It lingered in my mind, a memory of the days when it would make my heart race with happiness. Back then, it was light and musical, the kind of laughter that could lift even the heaviest burdens from my soul. But as she stepped through the front door that evening, returning from yet another of her business trips, it wasn't a laughter I cherished anymore. This was different, sharp, careless, and empty, like she had left a part of herself somewhere I couldn't reach. "Hello, darling," Emma called out in a soft, almost otherworldly tone. Her voice carried a detachment that stung. She kicked off her heels, the quiet thud echoing in the empty house, and carelessly tossed her purse onto the chair near the door. The sound of her voice still hung in the air, but it no longer brought comfort. Then she saw it. Her eyes locked onto the dining room table, and in an instant, her laughter faded away. It was as if someone had flipped a switch. Her body stiffened, her smile vanished, and her skin went pale. She stood frozen, staring at the framed photograph I had placed deliberately in her line of sight. It was a picture from our wedding day. Emma looked breathtaking in her delicate lace dress, her radiant smile lighting up the frame. I stood beside her in my navy suit, looking like the luckiest man alive. We were the picture of happiness, of hope, of everything love was supposed to be. But now, across the glass in bold red letters, were two simple words that shattered the illusion. I know. Her wide eyes darted between the picture and me. I stood in the kitchen, leaning against the counter with my arms crossed, watching her with a calmness that betrayed none of the storm raging inside. "What is this?" she asked, her voice small and trembling, barely able to push the words out. "Why don't you tell me, Emma?" I replied, my tone cold and controlled, my eyes never leaving hers. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but no sound came. I could see the wheels turning in her head as she tried to piece together what I knew, how much I knew, and how I had found out. The confident, self-assured facade she had built over the years began to crumble. "Jack, I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, her voice faltering under the weight of the moment. A bitter laugh escaped me, a sound so foreign that even I didn't recognize it. "Please, Emma, don't insult my intelligence. For months, I've been watching you lie to me. The business trips, the late nights at the office, your sudden obsession with going to the gym. It all makes sense now." I reached for my phone, holding it up so she could see the screen. Her face crumpled as she stared at the images that had taken me weeks to gather. Each one was a dagger to my heart, and now they stood as undeniable proof. Emma and her business partner, Daniel, holding hands on a secluded beach, laughing together at a bar, kissing under the glow of a cabana. "Jack, I can explain," she began, her voice thick with desperation, but I cut her off with a sharp glare. "Explain?" I snapped, my voice rising with each word. "Explain? How have you been sneaking around with Daniel while I've been working late to pay for your yoga classes and spa trips?" I asked, my voice cold and steady. "Explain how you've lied to my face over and over again. Tell me, Emma, are you sorry for what you've done, or are you just sorry you got caught?" Tears welled in her eyes as she took a tentative step toward me, her hands raised as if she thought an embrace could fix this, could fix us. "Jack, please," she begged. "Let me explain. It's not what it looks like." I raised a hand, stopping her in her tracks. "Don't," I said firmly, my voice unyielding. "For the past 2 months, I've been gathering everything I could. Do you know why?" She didn't answer, her lips trembling as she tried to hold herself together. "Because I wanted to be certain," I continued, my tone calm but laced with steel. "I needed to know that I wasn't imagining things, that I wasn't going crazy. And now that I'm certain, I've made my decision." Her tears began to fall in earnest, but I felt no pity, no sympathy. Not after everything she had done. "I've already filed for divorce," I said, the words slicing through the tension like a knife. "The papers are with my lawyer. You'll receive them tomorrow. I'd suggest you review the prenuptial agreement you signed before thinking about contesting it." Her face crumpled, the weight of my words sinking in. She knew what that meant. The agreement was airtight, designed to protect my family's legacy. She would leave with nothing more than what she came into the marriage with. "You don't have to do this, Jack," she whispered, her voice barely audible, a last-ditch effort to appeal to my emotions. "I do," I replied, my voice devoid of emotion. "And there's one more thing. I've already told Daniel's wife." The impact of my words hit her like a physical blow. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. "Oh, don't worry," I added bitterly. She was very understanding. In fact, she even shared some pictures of her own. Her sobs grew louder, but I felt nothing but a hollow ache inside. There was no going back now. This was the end. I had been quietly observing her for some time, and deep down, I had known. The thought of her betrayal had been eating at me, and when I finally confronted her, she broke down. She started crying, her face twisted with guilt and regret, but I didn't let it sway me. I stayed firm, continuing with what I had planned. My resolve was set. I reached into the drawer and pulled out a folder. It was thick, and I could feel the weight of what it held. I held it up for her to see, my voice calm and almost emotionless. I put all of this together. The folder was filled with everything: text messages, images, receipts. Each piece a part of the puzzle that had been unraveling over the past few weeks. I tossed it onto the table in front of her, papers scattering across the surface. "This will go directly to your company's human resources department if you try to argue with me over this divorce," I added, my voice firm and unwavering. I could see the panic starting to rise in her. She realized the gravity of the situation. I wanted her to understand exactly what she had done. Let's see how well they handled two of their top managers having an affair on company time and resources, I said coldly. The silence that followed felt heavy. She collapsed into a chair, her head dropping into her hands as she began to sob. The sight of her breaking down didn't give me satisfaction. In fact, it almost felt like I was watching a scene from someone else's life. "I made a mistake, Jack. Please, I cherish you," she pleaded, her voice trembling with emotion, but there was nothing in her words that reached me. I let out a hollow laugh, one that echoed in the room, and then spoke, my voice bitter. "Love? Do you call this love? You don't love me, Emma. You love the life I built for you. You love the stability, the safety, the comfort I provided. But you didn't respect me. You threw all of it away for what?" Her sobs grew louder, but they didn't move me. In fact, I felt something I hadn't expected, a strange sense of relief. It was as if the weight I hadn't realized I was carrying was finally lifted off my shoulders. There was no anger, no resentment. I didn't even feel sadness or sympathy. I was simply free. I grabbed my keys, my movements deliberate. "I'll be staying at a hotel for the next few days," I said, my voice steady. "By the end of the week, I've already scheduled movers to pack your things. You need to leave this house." Her tear-streaked face looked up at me, a mask of despair etched across it. "Please don't do this, Jack. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work this out," she begged, her voice desperate. I shook my head slowly. I could see it in her eyes. She was clinging to the hope that I would somehow take her back, that we could pretend like nothing had happened. But I knew better. "This is one of those things, Emma, that can't be fixed," I said firmly. There was no turning back now, no more second chances. I walked toward the door, my hand resting on the handle, and then I stopped. I turned back to her one last time. "Oh, and I've canceled the credit card for that new purse you bought during your business trip," I added, my tone sharp. "Have fun explaining that one to your lover." Without waiting for a response, I walked out the door. As I did, I could hear her cries echoing through the house, but I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I knew I couldn't let myself be drawn into her emotional pleas any longer. As I drove away, I felt a strange mix of emotions. There was a deep sense of rage and betrayal, the rawness of the hurt still fresh. But beneath it all, there was something else, a profound sense of liberation. For years, I had worked to build a life with someone who didn't appreciate it, who didn't value me the way I had valued her. Now that life was over, but in its place was the possibility of something new. I was free to start over, to find someone who would truly appreciate me, who would love me for who I was, not just for the life I provided. The next morning, while I was at the hotel, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Daniel's wife. The text was simple, but it spoke volumes. "I appreciate you telling me. I'm also leaving him. We deserve better." Her words resonated deeply with me. She was right. We did deserve better. As I gazed out the hotel window at the rising sun, I realized that my marriage's collapse didn't signal the end of my life. It wasn't a tragic conclusion. Instead, it marked the beginning of something new, something fresh. For the first time in months, I felt hope stirring inside me. There was a world out there full of possibilities, and I was ready to embrace it.